Hey y'all, welcome back to the Chelz Council podcast. This is the second episode, and I am really doing this thing, am I not? I assure you that it will be good, so stick around. Today's discussion is surrounding exes. Do we talk about them with our current? Do we talk about them when we're dating? Do we talk about them with our partners? What do we do when it comes on to our exes? And of course, I will give you insights, well, my views on certain things and insights surrounding said exes. So let's get into it. Here beginneth the shenanigans. So, my question to you, my people, do you speak about your exes while dating? And why? Like, just why? I want to know why. Because I find it rather interesting. And of course, I am speaking on this because I was somewhat triggered by somebody or a conversation that I was having. Well, big up yourself, my friend, if you're listening, because as soon as I give an example, you're going to know that, yes, this came from our discussion. But let's get into it. So, I was having a discussion with a friend of mine. It's not. We were just talking about cars and the cars that we like and the cars that we, whatever, and the conversation escalated, right? And I think it was as a passing chance or passing something, I ended up saying something about my ex. And my friend, being so assertive, as he always is like, you never spoke about your ex. Like, I barely know anything about that dude. And I was like out of the blue, out of nowhere, without even thinking about it. I'm like, what is there to talk about? He's my ex and that is that. We did end up having a bit of discussion, though. I did not just, shut down and leave my friend like that because he was curious. So, yes, we had a short discussion. But this is my stance when it comes on to exes. And that is whether or not the breakup was bad or good or mutual or whatever the case may be, whatever they're calling breakups these days. Yeah, I am usually quite tight-lipped about my exes, particularly if I am talking to someone that I am dating, someone that I am interested in, or someone that I like. You will probably hear no mention of my ex at any point. If you're a friend of mine and you know of my partner and you knew us when we were together, the most you may hear me say is that I will put up my hand and I will be like, yeah, me and such dude, not date again. We're not seeing each other. We're not dating. Okay. And that is that. It's done. I am not getting into the details. I am not getting into the backstory. None of that. Like, it's done. And that is that. Like, I don't know if that's a good approach or, as a matter of fact, I don't even care what kind of approach it is. Yeah, the fact of the matter is we are no longer dating. So it's not relevant conversation, you know. I just think that is just my stance. It is not, it's no longer relevant conversation. It's not something to talk about. It's not someone to talk about. And I mean, like, usually what I have noticed is the persons normally think that the reason why I don't speak about my exes, the reason why I don't talk about my exes is because it was a bad breakup and I can't seem to deal with it or whatever the case may be. But really and truly, I just don't think that it's necessary. I just don't think that it's relevant. You know, it's like, all right, this was yesterday. We are today. Okay. Like, we're there so today, and that is what matters. That conversation was history. Today we are looking towards, I don't even know, the next few seconds, the next few minutes, the next hour. Why waste time and precious conversation talking about exes? I mean, it's the end of something. It could be the end of something good, it could be the end of something bad. It just ends. It's the history. So I have this thing where I literally, and I mean quite literally, mourn my relationships when they end. So a part of the healing for me is actually mourning the loss of a love that I once had, the loss of a companionship that I once had, the loss of intimacy that I once had. I actually mourn them. So I go through this phase, I go through this pattern, and once I am done mourning, once I'm done healing from that loss, there's no going back to it. It is done and forgotten. So I think that is probably the reason why I do not. So I would not normally have a certain amount of resentment or stuff towards my ex, because during this mourning period, I usually forgive them for whatever it is that they have done. And if it is me, I forgive myself for whatever I have done to him. Whatever hurt I may have caused him, I forgive myself in that moment. So what that does, it helps me to actually release all of that energy that I would have had, during the breakup phase, or, coming up to the breakup phase, or coming up to the breaking down that leads to the breakup. All of that resentment, that hurt, that pain, I would have basically released that energy during the mourning period. So usually the resentment and the things that follows you after a bad breakup, let's talk about bad breakups. The things that follows you after a bad breakup, it doesn't normally follow me. And sometimes you will find that when the ex decided that they want to come back, they would find that I am gone, like literally far gone. And it is usually interpreted as me never having any love to begin with, one, and two, the love is just gone. Like it's just gone. No, and yes, it's usually questioned to say, hey, it was never genuine because it shouldn't be gone so fast. But that is not the case. It's not that I lost the love that I had for my ex. It's just simply easier to move on, to get on with my life. It's easier to forgive. If it's a case where I was hurt, if it was a case where I was betrayed, or whatever the case may be, it makes it easier for me to forgive you and move on. I always find it very weird, like when I am judged, right, for moving on so easily, as they term it, or moving on so quickly, as they term it. I always wonder, who has the time and energy to sit down wallowing in something that you've already lost? Yes, when people dead, you mourn them for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and over time it becomes easier for you to deal with the loss of that person. The same thing applies to a relationship. Yes, they're not dead, but it's the same concept. You have lost that person, you have loved this person, and you have lost that person. So you take a month and you mourn, and you take another month and you do whatever it is that y'all do to get it out of your system, and then you move on. Because you're gonna sit down, you're gonna sit for months, years, torturing yourself because somebody left you, or because somebody cheat, somebody fuck around, and you didn't have good plans and big plans for being with this person, but the person cheated, and as such your whole life must stop because somebody cheated, because somebody decided to left you. Him decide say him want better, or she want better, or whatever the case may be. She decides say you're not enough for her, or she decides say, bigger fish out in the sea, she a cut. You're gonna stop your whole life because one person, one in 7 point something billion, we probably reach 8 billion person decided that them done and them not want to continue this thing here. You stop your life, you torture yourself, you push past my life, and you're gonna just label every man. Let me not even say it because that is rubbish. You're going to say, okay, there's no good men out there, there's no good women out there, all because one person did not know your value. Because one person did not see your value. Because one person decided to give up on you. Life stop and you for just live with that misery. Why? Like, that is the question I want to ask. Why? I'm sorry, but it's a lifelong wallowing in self-pity something there because of one failed relationships. Probably I've had too many failed relationships. So I'm not really authority on the subject. But I don't think that lifelong thing of wallowing in self-pity, I really don't think it is worth it. I really don't. And I'm not even going to find a justification, and I'm not even going to say, whatever. Nah, it not worth it. Okay? Like, where do you find time to wallow in self-pity and also move on in the process? Like, where? How? Like, I don't know. Make it make sense to me, because it's not making any sense at all. You know? People just need to spend time, give themselves grace. And I think one of the biggest problems is that, and why we have such huge issues when we are trying to get over exes, is because we go into relationships with absolutes. You know? But that's for another discussion. That is for another discussion. We go into relationships with these absolutes, and we go into some relationships. Listen, when you're dating somebody, when it's not marriage, full on marriage, you're just dating your boyfriend and girlfriend, certain things nothing be absolute in that relationship, And yes, y'all can burn me at the stake for this one, but certain things that we do in relationships, both men and women, you don't do those things unless that person is the person that you're going to want to spend the rest of your life with. And you see, the moment you identify, say he or she is not the person you want to spend the rest of your life with, you withhold certain things, because certain things are just meant for your life partners. Certain connections are meant for your life partners. But, as I say, different discussion. Yeah. You can't go in a dating relationships and boyfriend and girlfriend. You can't go in at the trial period, because boyfriend and girlfriend and dating thing is really the trial period. You can't go in at the trial period with certain absolutes. You're doing nothing but setting up yourselves to be hurt. That's what that is, That's what that is. So, with that being said, let me get back to the matter at hand, which is the discussion of the exes. Yes, I had to deviate a bit for context, but let's get back to it. I personally don't discuss my exes. Like, perchance, my exes will probably come up in a situation but it's not going to be a comparative thing. Like, my ex used to do this, or my ex used to do that, or, something like that. It's not going to be that. An example, talking about cars, and the person may have asked, so, you know so much about cars? My response would more than likely be something along the lines of, my ex was really into cars and I learned a few things from him. Or my ex was one of them people who work at ATL or one of them places there. And them usually tell me about the cars them, and I'm usually fast in business. And them something there, and that's why I know about the car. That is it. Nothing else. That is it. It's not gonna be a case where, we're going to be sitting down and I'm just going to compare him. Oh, you know that my ex like Mark X too? No, it's not happening. No. Okay? No, we're not doing that at all. We're not doing that. Okay? I always say this to the persons I meet. I always say this, and I'm realizing that quite a few persons that I would have met don't really understand it, or even if they do understand it, it's really on a surface level. But whenever I am going out with somebody, dating, casual dating and stuff, and we're discussing things, I always say to them that I am the type of person who is going to give you a blank page. Whatever you write on it, it's your story. So nothing from my boss is supposed to affect how I treat with you. You're your own individual person, and as such, I will treat you as same. Whatever story you write on these blank pages, those are your stories. It's not any spillover from anything in my past. And I would hope that you give me the same grace, so that what you're bringing is not any spillover from your past. Well, to be honest, I don't normally meet somebody who is able to just, not bring the baggage from the past into the future. Yeah, that is always my thing. Like, if I give you the pages, you write your story, I treat you sideways. That is because of the story where you write it. Now have nothing to do with what him named there when I did a date 500 years ago. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with you. You're your own individual, and I will judge you accordingly. Because honestly, and I want us to be real with ourselves now, how can you truly show up in your relationship? Give the person that you're dating a fair chance, a fair assessment. If you're still carrying the ex and whatever appeal to the ex in the past, whatever you and the ex had, how can you actually give the current a fair chance if the ex is still lingering somewhere? And this is not to say that persons are ineffective or, they don't have an effect. It's just, let's be realistic now. If you're carrying so much of the exes from the past coming into the future, like, where is the space for the current? Because, that dude still occupies space. That girl still occupies space here and now. And that is just my principle and my philosophy when dating. But yeah, I think it's safe to say that we can end this discussion here, right? Yeah, so those are my 2 cents. Those are my thoughts on the case of the exes. Tell me your views. I'm curious. I want to know. Share your thoughts, share your views, anything. I'm open to a discussion. Until next time, have a good one.